Issue 4, Youth Shades, December 2016. Copyrighted by respective authors and Youth Shades. All rights reserved. Contents have been published with the permission of the authors. No part of this publication may be reproduced in any form without the written consent of Youth Shades and the respective authors. Photos with no attribution are free licensed. Connect with us on social media: Facebook Youth Shades, Twitter at Youth Shades Mag, YouTube Youth Shades. Team: Chief Editor Yaekbono Abasi Adams, Poetry Editor Akinsimoye Samuel Omoniyi, Fiction Editor Kate Job Water, Non-Fiction Editor Erican Morris, Graphic Designer and Video Editor Samuel Odiahi, Audio Presenter Agozie Asuzu. Editorial: Agricultural Production and Food Crisis. Agriculture has been man's oldest occupation, from which hundreds of generations have immensely benefited and survived. This present and even future generation is not exempted. Agricultural production is the production of vegetables and animals made available for human consumption and animal feeds. Agricultural production comprises of crop and animal production. Global Rural and Urban Mapping Project GRUMP latest estimates indicate that approximately 3% of global land surface is covered by urban areas. 29.9% of the planet's surface area is covered by land, though a significant 10 to 12% is uninhabitable, which leaves about 17% for agriculture and human use. Farming claims almost half of the Earth's land. In Africa, farming is an integral part of every family life, but it's largely done on a subsistent level, mainly cultivating crops that are relevant to the region. Greater part of the land mass is fertile and suitable for varieties of crops, both cash and perennial. Regions with greater rainfall cultivate more perennial crops like oil palm, cocoa, bananas, and some vegetables. Animal production has a considerable quantum of importance in agriculture. Rearing of farm animals has been an age-long practice in Africa and the world at large. Most homes in rural areas keep animals like goats, sheep, fowl, etc. and make adequate provision for their food, shelter, and in some cases, medication. So we can conveniently say that agricultural production is not a scholar's idea, but a natural field of human endeavor which deals with the provision of food and meat for man's consumption. Food crisis affects over 3 billion people, with fractions of these spread across continents of the world. Food shortages and prices of food have skyrocketed due to the rising fuel price, poor infrastructure, inadequate funding, unbalanced and agricultural policies, natural disaster, and inequitable trade. The world has the resources and capacity to combat food crisis. We have the manpower, sufficient farming space, and soil enrichment compounds, popularly called fertilizer, to replenish worn-out farmlands with necessary nutrients in order to bring forth healthy yield in crops. Livestock is also a beneficiary of man's resourceful nature through crossbreeding to improve their respective species. Sadly but true, our generation doesn't attach much importance to farming. We'd rather have a white-collar job and a fancy lifestyle. Few of us who venture into farming are quickly hit by the inconsistencies of the market, so we try other lines of businesses that look promising. Funds need to be injected into agriculture, procurement of machineries, fertilizers, silos, etc. Accessible roads should be the government's fulcrum to ensure a better turnout of agricultural production. Poetry. D. Sylvester, Nigeria. The Belly Dancer. She mocked poetry with her hips. Her art was an enthralling heresy. A fierce fennec in fair-fitting velvet, she glides like a dice on leveled ice. Swift, sleek, the twist was exquisite. The turn was nirvana, sculpted in flesh, a rhyme unspoken, an aesthetic elixir. The beauty was perfection on steroids, holy book screaming, "This is forbidden." Yet the performance was my baptism, a pious orgasm, a sleek, sexy sacrilege. The pleasure was in its very appreciation. Applause. She bows, kisses, and she waves, but may her face remain behind the veil. Claudia Piccinno, Italy. A false theorem. They are concentric circles, the true friends. Let's call bread the bread, and not self or friendship. The metastasis of something else. You were not parallel lines. They can reflect each other, and they are able to tend to infinity for the dormant meeting. You were maybe two catheti squared that give as result the hypotenuse and its shadow, and she thought about perpendicular lines, about honest crosses to share with you for years, and she tried to see you again in the chaste embrace of right angles in the IP Greek of a circle. What remains to her a false theorem, broken diagonals, acute angles of suffering, obtuse angles of dementia. Michael Marotti, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The best poem of all time. The best poem of all time is right in front of you, pulsing like an erratic heartbeat, growing older with each passing second, cloaked in darkness, ignored because of race or gender. It's all about cosmetics. Maybe I need a makeover. Or should I surf this site? Me and my hidden intentions, leaving a few superficial comments on other people's poems in the hope of reciprocation. We all have feelings to express, and we all think we are oh so clever, but I guarantee mine are better than yours, because I'm self-assured, biased, and pretentious. Learn from the master. If you're running low on inspiration, bite your tongue or the moderator will take it. Nothing is free, but this work of art, I bestow it upon you. No one would purchase it. Here, you can have it. I know that what you're thinking. I felt what you're feeling. This is the best poem of all time. You're overwhelmed by the joy of stumbling upon this immaculate conception. Marianne Finch, United Kingdom. Charlie. Sleeping on a dark bench could be any place. A young boy is sleeping, his arms across his face. As the small hours are approaching, he's aching from the cold. He's run from home. He's so vulnerable and only 10 years old. Beaten by his mother, fell once too often down the stairs. His mother's now in prison and Charlie is in care. He had so many foster homes. He's been hostile, detached and wild. The social workers had to face the fact he's a damaged child. They put him in a children's home when he kicked off yesterday. He waited until the hours was silent and quietly ran away. He's built a shell around him. Nobody can get in. Being alone, though the freezing cold is preferable to him. Charlie should be counseled, but they just don't have the funds. So they'll just return him to the place he hates, and at the first opening, he will run. Valentine Bagu, Nigeria, my Arabian goddess. Honor to thee, thou goddess of succulent, scrumptious beauty. Before thee I freeze to admire thy spotless, enticing beauty. At the aroma of thy fragrance, I breathe an immense sagacity. My Arabian goddess, thy prowess I honor with my whole creativity. The beauty have never been seen on the face of any woman, neither the origin of thy irresistible smiles traced to any woman. The radiance of thy smiles outshines the shining pride of the sun. Thy refining personality, a rare gem, causes every imagination to run. A fountain of beauty upon whose elegance the sun refuses to shine. There can never be found any symbol of priceless beauty aside thee. Of a truth, thou art a rare treasure, for whose heart I'll go extra mile. My Arabian goddess, for thy sake I'll forsake the world to be with thee. Thy beauty is second to none, for thou art more beautiful than the universe. I'll treasure thee until the ocean dries up, for with thee I'll grow old. My Arabian goddess, for thy smiles I'll cause time to make reverse. Until my dying breath, I'll treasure thy person till the oceans fold. Thou art so precious a treasure, whose beauty glows with honor and pride, an epitome of beauty whose beauty is without comparison, a rare berry. Thy rhythmic voice A sonorous lyric makes me glued to thy sight, for thou art sweeter than honey and more succulent than berry. My Arabian goddess, until the end of time, I'll forever love you best. I'll love thee till the river jumps over the mountains. With thee I'll boast my pride. Never will I stop loving thee, for I'll be sure to love thee to thy taste. Of a truth thy beauty glitters more than gold. With thee I'll make my bride. Akinlabi Olalade, Nigeria. Death. We need not to write your stories in pen, 'cause in your hands lie the ink to terminate life. No one sees the end of your story. Who dares to? The invincible visible spirit, Father, nearer to the breathing being. The supreme God of impromptu, powerful than a nap, giving eyes an eternal dictatorial order to be shot. Who fears you? Who doesn't dread you? Can't submerge you. Have no mercy for pleads. Hear no pleads from peace. What is the wailing for? You have shut eyes again. The unavoidable termination to breaths. Patrick Amaefule, Nigeria. Pushing through the miles. Pushing across the miles, behold, the next is Nile. I can take on that future challenges made like culture. It's part of life and nature if this moment is right. I'll move me through many tributaries, not feared if I smell an ocean by my feet. Godly metal strapped about me with feet. Against the hikers, 2 more steps ahead. I saw in the beginning, there are the ridges interlinked to the opulent bridges to start to this road. I won't dare to quail, because it is to fail. Starring on the sunny side of the east, yet another hope of a friendly feast. There is some wonder in the everything I ponder. As overture, I brought the adventure of the Maker to help me walk this road, and not to grope, yet I resist to mope. Despite how the eyeing world deduced with precision, there I took my decision. I'm sure the time is right, though the moment seems too tight, and I'm pushing through everything that comes the way. I'll get over it, but just one day. I'll be overwhelmed by his might. The fate is what I decide through my dreams. It's neither a fairy nor fantasy, so strongly I believe in it. Alicia Manjares Ramirez, Morocco. It rains. A longing breeze tries to show itself like nostalgia migrating up in the air. Water permeates my body, your breath fills in context, longing secrets that the wind shakes up in the offing, then nothingness. I walk behind upon the moisture left by drops under the branches. Birds get detached from their nests looking for the promised shelter. Church bells ring outside, the night interrupts. I long to dry off the rain, like those beds besetting the park trees in the evening. The stillness of your eyes invades me, ecstatic wings paralyzing their flight at my silence feet. Fernando Jose Martinez Elderete, Mexico. Love geometry. Beautiful little one, powerful energetic triangle of hidden magic. From tip to base, perfect manifestation of the divine symmetry. If we turn the summit into the land, it becomes a gestation period of female life. Love, bold spark of joy in resurrecting the lost past. Sublime diva walking and seduces from the beginning of the fog until the day. We met in an indestructible caste circle. There is no tomorrow. We are dissolved on a cosmic dimension of perennial ideals. In our tongue, sprouts growing quietly so as not finished perpetual melodies. We are a silver ring pierced by fire, impossible to separate. We united in one angry power. Together we form the mystical hidden spiral, preserving the secrets of the wise, knowing the birth, passion, and death of all that exists. Only those whose love transcends creation. Then more I'll live in you, love you more. There's a maze constantly revealed. And all the charm invariably appears to understand. Mutual attraction is similar to the morphology of the square. It spreads to the four corners of the earth, although cyclones erased the traces of lovers. The stars, the tides and sand intertwined our spirits wherever they are. Patrick Michael, Washington. The epitome of childhood. The epitome of childhood is pure innocence, crawling, cuddling with mother and father while feeling ambivalent, messing, causing mischief to have fun, not understanding synthesis, tickling, tricking, using, jokes on mom, dad, brothers and sisters with reticence, fooling, spinning, on the ground, having fun in spite of rules, frivolous, learning, yearning for a new toy, sticking by it with sheer diligence, scribbling, choosing different colors based on immature vividness, growing, walking, while hanging onto furniture, falling, imminence, falling, picking yourself up, crying, mom, loss of independence, sensing, gaining insight into basic skills, being more insolent, learning, yearning for a new toy, sticking by it, being diligent, moaning, groaning, when mom or dad give orders, being impertinent, laughing, grinning from ear to ear, being cute while acting abhorrent, coming, going on vacations with mom and dad in an argument, talking, singing, kids' tunes, saying, "Are we there yet?" like a tournament, running, playing, to get a sense of the neighborhood, feeling affluent, posing, role playing, to get a sense of what adults do, well spent, schooling, ruling the playground, king of the mountain, being the highlights, salivating, matriculating from grade school, climbing the ladder of life, dynamite, failing, succeeding in learning hard lessons, getting a sense of delight, searching, hoping for things you have not earned, gaining a better insight, reeling, showing off to your friends, high on yourself, giving them a fright, smiling, pretending you're not hurt. Others see through your capricious plight, dating, getting, teased about your choices, the dog always takes a bite, enduring, feeling a loss of innocence, feeling sad, seeing the light. Articles. Paul Priye, Nigeria. The Dignity of Labor Among Teachers and Students. Part 2. Teachers are God's special instruments for recreating a better and godly society. If you have made yourselves available for this great task, may God give you the grace to accomplish it, and may He also crown your efforts with success. Some teachers have, however, failed in inculcating true moral values into their personal lives and that of the students. For instance, some might have lost the sense of duty and priority. They don't have zeal for their jobs anymore, but they want the government to be very faithful in paying salaries. More so, punctuality and enthusiasm for academic excellence are out of their dictionaries. Some are very smart in updating their office files overnight or a few days before the arrival of inspectors or higher authority. They are always punctual at their office attendance register, but in reality, they are not. What a pity. They lack the virtue of honesty. Some even receive illegal money from students just to pass exams. This nonchalant attitude has created a lot of miracle centers in our schools. Many students, as a result of this, don't see the need to work extra hard anymore. They seek favor without labor and would rather not say there is dignity in labor, but would prefer saying there is dignity in favor. Natasha, United Kingdom. About my father's business. What does it mean to be about your father's business? With the pressures and stresses of life, it can seem overwhelming for some to focus on what God is telling them. The way you juggle things is different for everyone. Some can manage with outstanding pressure, whereas some crumble at the first sign of trouble. But what to remember is that God has given you a purpose. Ask God to reveal what that purpose is and how to go about fulfilling it. Now, it's one thing asking God to reveal what your purpose is, and another thing living within your purpose. Recently, I've been encouraging others and supporting those who are seriously pursuing their purpose. Many Christians lack the support and encouragement from others, which already prevents them from starting something that God has stirred within them. I'm not saying that we need to be praising every Tom, Dick and Harry about doing what they are supposed to be doing, but a little well done here and congratulations there wouldn't go amiss. Just as Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9 states, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will uplift his companion. This is what we should be experiencing, being able to uplift each other instead of looking out for number one. When you're living within your purpose, you will find that people in your life start to disappear like Casper the ghost. Do not be alarmed now. People who God knows can't be part of your walk, He will remove them from your life for a reason. He knows that where He's taking you, these people cannot go because they are not spiritually or mentally ready. The thing you have to remember is that you cannot reopen a door that God has already closed. When you have surrendered everything to God and you're walking in your purpose, you will find that God will bring people in your life you just know are heaven sent. These people will tend to bring you great news or offer you opportunities that go against your wildest dreams. Then, you just know it's God. God can and will use anyone and everyone. Do not be afraid to tell people of the wonders of God and all that He has done for you. John chapter 15 verse 16 says that you did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, and that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask the Father in my name, He may give it to you. You did not choose God. Moreover, He chose you. He knows that you're special and that what He sees in you, you will prosper and flourish. We should go out and walk in our purpose so evidently that we begin to plant seeds of God everywhere we go. The fruits will grow beautifully so that when we ask God of the things, He may give to us what our heart desires are. How can you begin to be about your Father's business? Stories. Onyechi Mbam, Nigeria. Grandpa. Neye, greet your father for me, oh. Safe journey. Grandma is saying. I hug and bid her bye. Neye, are you going? Auntie Nkechi asks. Auntie Nkechi is a neighbor to Grandma. I had spent most of my playtimes with Lola and Kemi, her children, playing over at the heap of sand in front of Grandma's balcony. She would feed me alongside her children in the evenings when Grandma stayed late in the market, where she sold food wares, tomatoes, peppers, and crayfish. Sweetie, come, let's be going, Mom says. I turn to follow her, then my eyes drift to Grandpa's grave. I drop the bag I'm holding and walk to the grave. I feel goose flesh. It was 5 years ago. I was 5. Grandpa had been sick and Mom had taken him to the Federal Medical Center when my brothers and I visited him in the hospital. He was in a good state. He had promised to take us fishing when we go to Umuahia the next holiday. Kelechi was barely 2. He jumped in excitement. He had never gone fishing with Grandpa. It would be his first time. In Umuahia, there was a big river 2 kilometers away from Grandpa's house. Every weekend, most fishermen took their children there to help them do the baiting and to carry the fishes home. It was fun, especially during the holidays when so many children came with their grandparents and their parents. I always enjoyed the fish pepper soup Grandma prepared when we returned. Weeks later, after the hospital, Mom came back from work and started packing our clothes into a bag. I asked if we were traveling and she told me we were going to Grandma's house. Is it to Grandma Ikwa's house? I asked. No. To Umuahia. Pack, please. Emeka and Kelechi, who had sat quiet all the while, jumped at the mention of Grandma Umuahia. Kelechi said, Hooray! I'll go fishing with Grandpa. I'll catch big fishes for Grandma to cook soup. I'll give Neye, but I will not give you, Emeka. He sneered at Emeka. Yes, don't give me. You think I will not catch my own fish? It was a long vacation. I was equally happy because I would spend lots of time with Auntie Uche learning how to knit with wool and join Grandpa and my brothers in fishing. I would secretly go swimming with Uncle Pat. It would be really fun-filled. I couldn't wait. I looked at Mom's eyes and they were teary. A drop was beginning to trickle down her cheek when she brushed it off with her thumb. I wanted to ask, but I remembered that the day before she had warned me about asking too many questions. I liked asking questions about everything. Whenever Dad's friends came, I would sit on the side stool close to the center table in the sitting room and ask them questions about buildings and constructions. Mom would come into the sitting room and drag me by my ears to the bedroom. I was chubby, and our neighbors always called me Orobo. They said my eyes were like those of a pussy. On the Saturday Grandpa was buried, it drizzled in the morning and the village was a little foggy. Mom came into the room where my siblings and I slept and jerked me up. Get up! Get up! And remove your clothes for a bath. Emeka had woken on hearing Mom's voice. Mom, is today church? We're used to waking early on Sunday mornings to prepare for Sunday's service. No, today is not church. Why are we bathing early if today is not church? We have not seen Grandpa since yesterday we arrived. I hope he still remembers our fishing. Emeka, remove your clothes and stop asking unnecessary questions. Yes, Mom. Just then we heard all the wail across the corridor. It was Grandma's voice. But why would she be wailing this early in the morning? Mom rushed out immediately while I helped my brothers remove their pajamas. She came back and off to the bathroom we went. Best Heart, have the children eaten? Dad was asking. The previous day I rarely caught a glimpse of him before we went to bed. Yes, dear. Then arrange a bath for me. Emeka went to Dad and he lifted him and put him on his lap. He was just a year younger than me. Dad, why is Grandma Umuahia crying? Dad was about answering when there was another wail. He put him down and went to Grandma's room. I tiptoed behind to know what was happening. Take her away from the bed, Dad said to Auntie. I stood by the door and peeped through a crack on the lintel. I saw Grandpa lying on the bed, dressed on his white agbada, white socks on his legs, and his walking staff in his right hand. I became confused. Grandpa was sleeping. Why was Grandma crying? To disturb his sleep? Why was he sleeping in his church clothes? Neye, aren't you supposed to be with your brothers? Now run along and stay with them. I had been so engrossed in my thoughts that I didn't know when Dad opened the door. Yes, Dad, I said. I rushed to the room where I had left my brothers. On entering the room, Kelechi ran to me and said, Neye, I saw it. I saw Uncle Pat carrying a big box to Grandma's room. A big box bigger than the one Mom puts her wrappers in. I will ask Grandpa Umuahia if I can put my clothes in his big box. Me too, Emeka said. I grabbed both their hands and led the way to the single cushion in the room I learnt had belonged to Mom when she was still living with Grandma and Grandpa. The wall of the room had a worn-out yellow painting. Pictures of Mom when she was young were all over the wall. The floor had a pink carpet and the curtains were yellow to match the colorful wallpaper above the wall shelf. While I sat on the cushion, so many thoughts raced through my mind. I couldn't figure out the reason for Grandma's wails. Mom's teary eyes, Uncle Pat's gloomy face, Auntie Uche's constant sobs, and most of all, Dad's less attention to us. I turned from the grave and walked back to the balcony. Mom is exchanging pleasantries with Auntie Nkechi. Oh, Mama Nkechi, don't worry. They'll come with Neye on her next visit to Umuahia. Neye, make sure you're not forgetting anything. Yes, Mom, everything is ready, inside the bag. Let's be going then, or we won't catch the next box to Abakaliki. Mama Neye, safe trip. Greet your husband and children. Auntie Nkechi says as we leave the compound. We bought a bike to the motor park, where Mom buys 2 tickets. It takes so long for the bus to move on the journey back to Abakaliki. The driver shouts, Abakaliki, Abakaliki, to attract passengers. We were finally leaving the motor park. I allow my mind to drift to Auntie Nkechi. Everyone likes her because she's so friendly. I think of Grandpa. It seems like a century I saw him last. I miss him. I miss the tales of his wrestling days. Grandpa had a huge body with a large chest. His fellows used to dread wrestling with him because he would always leave them with wounds after the wrestling. Grandpa loved telling stories. He told us a lot of stories at night. I enjoyed fishing with him during the long vacations, and he would refuse to take my brothers because they were too small. Whenever his friends came, after serving them palm wine, when they left, he would secretly call me and give me a little he remained in his cup. Whenever he visited Abakaliki, he would buy so many things for my brothers and I. Sometimes he would bring smoked fish. It was always fun staying with him. Now that he is no more, I can understand the reason for all Grandma's cries during the burial. I wish he'd never died. I wish he's still alive. I would have shown him the new tablecloth I made. Morakinyo, Israel, Nigeria. My Raped Locked, Part 1. The fate of empty treasury my children make me suffer now did not recently start, but as far back as I got my lock raped by aliens. If not, in tranquility and sanity will my children have locked after the affairs of my ornaments with no rift. Just like the story of a young beautiful damsel, Belinda, guarded by sylphs whose lock was raped by Lord Byron. Things never returned to normalcy as the act kick-started her fallen empire. Such was my fate. I got my lock raped by aliens too, who sneaked into my house, were allowed with their sugar-coated mouths as they claimed they were bringers of peace. Not too long did their mischief spread across board. Not only was my lock raped, but my necks, hands and legs were also beautifully dressed in shackles. All my ornaments were being controlled and used, and I was treated with disgust and outstanding contempt. I became masochistic that there was nothing I could do to salvage myself. In pain spiced with joy, suffering garnished with smiling, and lack fertilized with plenteous, did I birth some of my children. They grew up with oceans of wisdom. They rapidly understood not only my plight, but also my worries and travails as a mother. When will these aliens leave our mother alone? They thought in one of their gatherings. Earlier, before 1957, one of my youngest brilliant sons, Anthony, proposed my being liberated to the aliens. All he got in return was battering. This second to none cracked the wall of schism and made it quite easy again for the aliens to establish their ruse by plotting successfully the rift among my children. My ornaments were not too squandered as I deliberately hid far away the most special ornaments in preservation for my upcoming children. Joyful was the day I got the chains off my neck, hands and legs. It was a beautiful first day of the 10th month in the year 1960 that I was told my children could look after me and my ornaments. What a joyful day it was. I was oblivious of the potentious danger that lies ahead. My joy knew no bound as I thought, at last, this was what my children had been waiting for. My freedom was celebrated in a grandiose style. I could not have wished better than that. To be continued. Call for submission. Are you a writer or an artist? Do you want your stories, poems, scripts, memoirs, articles, artworks, paintings, and illustrations to be published on an international platform? If yes, submit your works to info@youthshades.com now. Themes of all submissions can be on any social or cultural issue of your choice. Also, include your name and country. We look forward to publishing you. Peace and love. Youth Shades team.